everyone. My name is Lars Brünjes. I'm the CTO of Genius Yield, and together with my colleague Marvin, who is our CSO, I want to talk about the Genius Yield DEX today. So we are very proud. We went live on mainnet last Thursday, so 1 week ago. And so we're very excited about that and want to talk about the unique features and what makes it special. So first of all, I mean, it's a DEX running on Cardano, and we tried very hard to embrace all the unique capabilities and advantages of the Cardano blockchain. I mean, DeFi has been pioneered by smart contracts on Ethereum. I mean, notably the Uniswap DEX. And so when the first DEXs came up on Cardano, people basically took the Ethereum idea and imported it to Cardano. But we believe that that's the wrong approach. I mean, what works well on Ethereum doesn't necessarily work well on Cardano. So in particular, Cardano has this so-called UTXO model, which is much more similar to Bitcoin than to Ethereum. And we felt that for DEX to be performant and scalable and powerful, one should make full use of the UTXO model. So in our DEX, all the orders are represented by individual UTXOs, which makes it possible to be much more parallel and decentralized. And so our DEX is order book based, which is like the natural thing if you embrace this UTXO model. So it's not an AMA DEX, it's order book based. And in our launch last week, so what we are supporting now, I mean, the working horse basically of our DEX is limit orders. So they come with some special features. For example, you can do time-based stuff, so that they are only active at a specified time interval. And you can also partially fill them, which is very useful. So if you have large limit orders, then they can be filled in several steps and don't have to be filled in one go. In addition to the limit orders, we also support direct fills. So without even bothering creating order, people can just fill an existing order. And we support market orders. So you can basically just say how much of a given token you want to buy, and then the UI will, or our system will find the best order for you that exists on the market in the order book right now. There are also, I mean, some features we are very proud of, notably the smart order routers that we use to actually match orders and make trades happen. But I think we can go to that a bit later. So maybe we should start by having a look at the DEX and seeing what it looks like. So I hand over to Marvin for that.
Yes, thank you, Lars. So yeah, today I'll do like a short demo of the DEX in action. And also one important aspect of our DEX, it's fully permissionless. It doesn't use batchers. And so really the execution of every single orders or every single operation on the DEX is done through the decentralized community. Apart from the front end that is run by Genius Yield, the DEX can operate completely run by the community and by the SORs and also the market maker bots. So I think that's a really nice feature of our DEX, and really shows how to use UTXOs in the ways to align with the decentralized ethos of the blockchain. So yeah, I will share my screen and now give you a walkthrough of the DEX. So this is the swapping page. So you have on the left a modal to place market orders. You can switch between tokens, buy and sell. You can place limit orders as well. They have also different advanced settings we will go into. We have also an order book that gives you a live view of the actual orders on the order book and allow you to interact directly with these orders if you wish to. And then at the bottom, you have your orders. So before this call, I placed a couple of orders. Some have been filled, some are still open, some are scheduled, which means that these are orders that will only be available to be open later in the future. So for this tutorial, let's go through the first example. Let's say I want to buy some gens. So I want to buy maybe 88 hours worth of gens. So since this is a limit order, I'll probably place a price that is lower than the market price right now. So 0.55, for example. And then if I wanted to, I could also set a start date and end date. So that will basically configure the order such that a start date means that it's scheduled in the future. And so you won't be able to, the bots won't be able to execute them in advance. And an end date will mean that if that order is not filled by that date, that order is no longer valid and can be canceled. But for this time, we'll just keep it simple and place a regular limit order. You've got a preview screen here that tells you exactly I'm swapping 80 ADA for 145 gens. And then this is the fee breakdown. So we have the application fee, which is a fixed fee plus a percentage fee, and then the transaction fee. So let's place this order. Okay, now we have a slowdown. Let me try again. Live demos has been working just fine before this call. Here we go. Okay, so signing the transaction. Okay, here we go. So maybe there's some transient error. Let me try again, maybe with the market order. Let's see if it works. But yeah, so I was just about to place these orders earlier today, and that worked just fine. So let's show the market order. This time, we can sell. So we can sell some gens. Let's say 50 gens at the market price. You can set your price margin, which is how far you are willing to go from the best available price. And then you'll be selected an order within that range. So yeah, so we're selling 50 gens for 27 ADA. Okay, signing the transaction. Okay, so we're successful this time. Good. So you will, in a few seconds, you'll see the transaction in pending state. And then once it's on chain, then you will see it filled. Another neat thing is, yeah, you can directly interact with the order book. So when you place a market order, what it actually does under the hood, it actually picks orders in the order book to give you the best available price. But since you have the order book in front of you, right, you could potentially just pick an order and say, I would want it. I could have asked for the 80 gens directly here. And basically, we call that a direct fill, directly filling from the order book. And that all can be done in parallel, right? Because of the everything is all of these orders are individual UTXOs. These orders can be filled in parallel and not interfere. Yeah, and so at the bottom here we have our orders. We can see our set of open orders, and then historical orders. There is also a more generic view when we go to the explore page. And so the explore page can show you both your own orders, but also every orders that are being matched on the exchange. So here, these are just orders that are happening live. And what's interesting is these orders can be matched partially, right? So here we go. This is our latest order that just went through, that we just placed. And when you see the subscript 2, that means that this order was filled in multiple fields. So this is great when you want buys and sells to intersect in and the amounts don't match, the bots are able to match orders and create partial fills, which is especially handy when you place large limit orders, and they can be filled across multiple times. But there'll be no slippage, right? So the price of the limit order is fixed and it's deterministic, and it will be filled partially until it's fully complete. And I think that covers most of what I want to go over in this little demo. So yeah, I invite you guys to check it out and try it for yourself. And then we'll come back to Lars to talk more deeply about the SORs.
Thank you very much, Marvin. Okay, so the market order you placed, you directly interacted with an order. So there was an order on the blockchain represented by UTXO, and basically the system picked that for you as the best available at that time, and then created a transaction where you immediately fill this. So there's no intermediate step. So you didn't first create something on the blockchain that then later had to be processed. But of course, there's the more general case where we forget about market orders and just have limit orders. And then the question is, how do they get matched? So you have a buy order, a sell order, both limit orders, and the prices are okay, so that everybody would be happy if they get matched. So somebody has to do that matching. And that's where the so-called SORs, the smart order routers, come in. And to explain that, I should probably start a bit earlier. So, I mean, I mentioned Uniswap before, and on Ethereum, if you have a token pair like this ADA Gens in our example, of course, there is no ADA on Ethereum, then all the liquidity is in one contract, one Ethereum contract. And then if somebody wants to trade in the one or the other direction, submits a transaction, and that just updates this pool. So shifts the balance, does the trade, and that can happen several times per block. So many transactions can be processed in this way on a given token pair in one Ethereum block. It is a bit problematic because on Ethereum, in contrast to Cardano, it's not deterministic. So even if your transaction succeeds, you don't know at the time of submitting it what price you will get in this example. Because, for example, I mean, again, Uniswap, if there are several orders in one block that trade the same token pair, then the order in which they are processed crucially matters, because each trade shifts the price. So it matters where in the queue of orders that are processed you actually are for your price. And you don't know that in advance. So when you submit a transaction, you don't yet know what price you will get. And so that's, I think, I mean, not a nice feature. So that's like problematic. But nevertheless, at least I mean, on Ethereum, because of the reason, the way Ethereum works, it's like performant. So you can process quite a lot of orders this way. So now when you try to port the same idea to Cardano, then you have a problem, because on Cardano, you would need to represent this, this pool, this liquidity pool by UTXO. And in principle, on Cardano, there can only be one interaction with the UTXO per block. So that means if you just do this naively, try to take the idea from Ethereum and port it to Cardano, you only would be able to do one transaction per token pair per block. So every 20 seconds, which is like unacceptably slow. So what people do instead that go down this AMA way is to introduce so-called batchers. So what happens like natively on Ethereum, that there can just be several transactions interacting with a given Ethereum smart contract in one block. On Cardano, in order to make that happen, basically there must be an intermediate step, some entity that so you place an order, basically stating that you want to interact with a certain token pair, and then somebody batches all of them together, brings them in some order, and then process them in one transaction. So that's how these AMA DEXs on Cardano manage to also get like higher throughput than just one transaction per block. But I mean, that has at least two problems. I mean, one is you have to, I mean, or let's say one big problem is that you need this batcher. And that's normally a centralized entity. So it's done by the project that runs the DEX, or it's licensed by the project. So there is, I mean, DeFi is all about decentralizing finance and making it permissionless and trustless. But by introducing these batchers, you get an element of centralization back. I mean, it's not as bad as it could be. So, I mean, the batchers can't steal your money, but nevertheless, I mean, it's a single point of failure in the system and like a point of centralization in the system. And so in Genius Yield, because we don't have this AMA model, but instead the order book where each individual order is an individual UTXO, we can do it completely differently because there's not this this pinching point of the one liquidity UTXO that everything dealing in this token pair has to go through. We have all these individual orders, and in principle, they can all be interacted with simultaneously in one block. But nevertheless, of course, you need somebody that actually does that. So, I mean, not in the case of market orders, because there's an existing order on the blockchain, and now Marvin just basically picked that one, or the UI picked it for him, and there was one transaction to make the trade. But if you have two limit orders, so they are both UTXOs, and now you need somebody that actually matches them, makes the trade, pays the buyer and the seller, and that's what SORs do in our system. And that may sound on the surface similar to batchers, but it's not. I mean, first of all, it's not this point of contention because everything happens in parallel. And secondly, as Marvin already mentioned, we are completely permissionless. So everybody can run a batcher. I mean, we like to think of ourselves as the community DEX, and we believe in open sourcing. So like a long time ago already, we have open sourced our Atlas Haskell framework. It's a way to do off-chain code on Cardano in Haskell, interacting with the blockchain, constructing transactions, querying the blockchain, and so on. And we have also open sourced these so-called SORs, these smart order routers. So everyone can just clone the GitHub repo, and there's a very nice README, and it's very detailed how to configure it and then deploy it. And once it's deployed, it will look for matching buy sell orders and try to match them. And it's done in a way that it's completely risk-free. So smart order routers are configured in a way that they only do transactions if there's a net benefit for the operator of the bot. And so this benefit comes from arbitrage, so from the bid-ask spread between the matched orders. And so it's completely risk-free. I mean, there are, of course, maybe some low costs because you have to find a way to interact with the blockchain. So the repo provides 3 methods out of the box, using Maestro, using Blockfrost, or using a local node. But I mean, that's like trivial in comparison. And there are no trading risks. So this bot just only makes a trade if there is arbitrage to be made that outweighs the transaction costs. And I mean, we also run those bots ourselves to kick off the whole process. But our idea is that this will done mostly by the community. So I mean, there's this game theory idea behind it that you can make some money by operating these bots. So if you find trades that give you arbitrage, then you can make money. So there's an incentive for people to do this. On the other hand, you have the users that place their orders and want their orders to be matched as quickly as possible. And now if there are certain types of orders, certain constellations that are not matched, that the existing SORs overlook, then there's an incentive for somebody else to step up and implement a different trading strategy for the SORs, a different matching strategy that specializes on this type of order. Because that then, I mean, everybody else is matching other orders and competing with each other. And so there's a niche where there's money to be made. And on the other hand, of course, the user profit from that because now their orders get filled quicker. So we hope that that's the incentives are just right. So people have an incentive to operate these bots and come up with new strategies. And if they do, then it's good for every user of the DEX because their orders get matched quicker. And apart from the financial aspect, I personally also think it's a lot of fun I hope that people will agree. I mean, tech-savvy people that enjoy things like that, it's a lot of fun to think of possible matching strategies and something that others haven't thought of. Of course, there's lots of trade-offs, so it's an interesting problem. I mean, you can try to only match 2 orders as quickly as possible, or you can, and then maybe the profit is not as big as it could be, but you can try to like match several orders, 5 orders, then maybe the potential profit is much bigger. But on the other hand, the risk is higher that somebody else, some other SOR aims for the same order. So then only one can go through, of course. So it's interesting. I think there are lots of dimensions in which one can explore these strategies, and I think just the incentives will like balance that out and lead to a nice equilibrium of bots and users. So that's the idea of SOR. And actually, I should say, as I said, we launched last week, and we have a Discord support channel for, or I should say, a discussion channel for SOR operators. And that has already been very successful. So I think there are at least 10 people that run their own SORs already. And it's also like typically for Cardano, one of the reasons I loved Cardano, a very nice atmosphere in this channel. So people help each other setting up their bots and give each other tips and so on. So we're very happy that that idea that we had to basically source this to the community, this role to do the matching, that seems to work nicely. So people are having fun and making hopefully a bit of money, and it's good for the DEX. So that's the one of the things that makes us stand apart, I think, this concept. And that's something that an AMA DEX just couldn't do, because I mean, it's completely different. We have all these orders floating around. So there it's actually possible to have framework like this, have bots like that. So I alluded to the term the community DEX. So I said it's, I mean, one of the reasons is because we believe in open source. We have these SORs that the community can participate and play with and contribute their own strategies and so on. And in that context of community DEX, I should also mention revenue sharing. So one thing we do as a main utility of our Gens token is that we share 20% of the fees that the DEX makes. So from day one, basically, I mean, all the fees go to a specific address, and we'll collect all of those there. And then, I mean, the details still need to be figured out, but basically all the fees that we make there, 20% of those will be distributed amongst Gen stakers. And we believe that that's like the proper and sustainable way to motivate or incentivize the community, because it's sustainable. So if the DEX is doing well and if there are lots of trades, then there are lots of fees, and we also can pay out a lot. And if it's doing not so well, then the revenue sharing will be accordingly lower. So I think that's a nice sustainable mechanism that you can do forever. I mean, there's no risk of running out of some. I mean, it's not like subsidizing anything. It's like a sustainable model. And lastly, I should say, these SORs, as I said, they can't lose. So they only make a trade if it's profitable for the bot via arbitrage. But in principle, the same technology can also be used to write other bots that do actually trade and can lose, but also can win. And those we call market maker bots. And that's now brand new. We will open, I mean, the plan is to open source it tomorrow. So we want to do it by the end of this week. And they can, in principle, do everything. So they have access to the API, our own API. So they can place orders, fill orders, cancel orders, do whatever they like. And there, our hope is that we also can get the community interested and excited about coming up with their own strategies and using these bots to trade and try out the strategies and compete against each other. And as Marvin said, it's completely permissionless. So in order for these bots to work, obviously the bots must have a way to do these things, like the SORs must be able to match orders, and the maker bots must be able to also match, or not necessarily match orders, but they must place and cancel orders. So all of that out of necessity has to be available anyway. but we also think that's the right thing to do, and good for everyone. So it's totally, I mean, possible to programmatically interact with our DEX. So you saw the UI. I think it's very nice and beautiful, and we spent a lot of effort to make it as intuitive as possible, but it's not necessary. I mean, if you are a tech-savvy person, then it's totally possible to just use our API to interact with the DEX. And that, of course, opens the door not only to these SORs and market maker bots, but also to, for example, DEX aggregators like DEX Hunter that then can easily integrate with our DEX. And yes, so I think that's a very, very nice feature as well to make it possible. There are all sorts of use cases, I think. Also that some whatever marketplaces could integrate with our DEX to allow payment in other tokens, or so I think there's a lot of things you can do with having this access to the DEX on a fundamental level without needing manually to interact with the UI if you don't want to. So I think that's all I wanted to say about the SORs. Not sure whether I forgot anything, Marvin. Oh, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, a couple small points. So a great thing with SOR as well is in the batcher model, the user that is trading is actually paying the batcher, right? We have this concept of batcher fee. In the Genius Yield DEX, the user doesn't pay the SOR, right? It only pays for the contract fee. The SOR basically have to make money for themselves. So conceptually, it's actually a very different way of looking at it. We don't pay SORs. They have to find opportunities in the market, arbitrage, and make money on their own by executing order. And so it also aligns incentive with capital efficiency. By finding capital efficiency, which it could be in the form of a spread, right? Then bots are incentivized to consume that arbitrage and then reduce capital efficiency on the DEX and then pay themselves this way. But from the user perspective, they never have to pay for these SORs. And so I think that's also a reduction of fee, right, for users. Regarding the fee distribution, another key aspect is that we collect fees in all the tokens being traded, right? So when you sell a token, we charge a percentage fee. So our fee is actually not just in ADA and gens, but in all the tokens being traded on the DEX. And that's how you will be receiving your rewards as well. So that's also a neat thing where when you retrieve as a gen staker, when you retrieve your portion of DEX fee redistribution, that will be in a bundle of many tokens. And basically the pools that have the most volume and the most fee collection will be the tokens that you'll get the most out of your rewards. And so that's also kind of a unique feature that differentiates us. And then regarding the market maker bots, so a lot of these concepts we didn't invent, right? This is actually what is been done for many years in traditional finance. These are actually kind of like how the financial world outside crypto functions, and these are well matured kind of financial systems to manage money markets and allow supply and demand, right, to find its own price. And that's one of the problems of AMM. It's because it's used such a different system from traditional markets. We kind of moved away from a lot of the years and years that financial theory people have been developing for these markets. And now we can bring back that theory into Genius Yield. Being a market maker, involves a deep understanding of the market or of the market conditions, and then it allows liquidity providers to have much deeper control and flexibility on how they place their liquidity and how they can earn gains from becoming liquidity providers. When you're a liquidity provider on AMM, you kind of are stuck with the default strategy, which is just place 50% of a pair on both sides. And then as the price goes up, you sell the most expensive pair and you buy the cheaper pair, which leads to impermanent loss and sometimes needs to be kind of like corrected with like yield farming and things like that. But with our market maker bots, then we will be able to do the same trading strategies that you find in traditional markets that has been done by large, asset managers and liquidity providers, and kind of replicate those strategies onto our DEX. So allowing much more efficient use of capital and a lot more flexibility for these liquidity providers to earn more yield, or at least have more control over their risk and rewards. And this is just the beginning, right? It will take time to build out those strategies and build out this community. These will all be, decentralized and open source, and anyone will be able to contribute. But we're very excited about what type of marketplace of bot strategies people are going to come up with, and really kind of bring power to the DEX, not through just its feature, but through the interaction of all the entities and the parties, interacting on the DEX to all, execute their own strategies. I think that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Marvin. I think we have a couple of questions in the Q&A that maybe we want to answer some of them. Maybe I can start with this one. How does the open source component of Genius Yield contribute to the growth of the Cardano blockchain community? I think in this case, it's really very concrete. I mean, I mentioned this Atlas framework, Haskell framework to do off-chain aspects of blockchain applications, like querying the blockchain for information and constructing transactions and submitting them, which we open sourced a while ago now. And that is actually used by other projects already. So there are some projects that really like it and use it for their own projects. So there's definite measurable effect and benefit for us having open sourced that. And I think it's also, the right thing to do for of course, moral reasons, but also practical reasons, because the more people are able to use tools, the more exciting things we can build, and that in the end benefits everyone. Like with the market maker bots, I think the benefit is also quite obvious, and the SORs. I think I explained that already. By open sourcing it, people just, everybody that is interested in things like that has a fun way to hopefully make some money, or at least solve some interesting problems, programming problems. And that's, of course, also a good thing, I think. And also by making everything open source and permissionless, it allows companies or projects like DEX Hunter to integrate with our DEX. And I think that's also a benefit for the whole blockchain community, because one of the problems is the fragmentation of liquidity. So we have several DEXs and they all have their own liquidity, and it's better for the users, at least if the liquidity is available. All of that, not in different ghettos, basically. And by open sourcing our API and making it accessible, I think it's much easier for integration. So that sorry, I think I clicked the wrong button. I don't know, Marvin, do you want to answer one of those, or?
Yeah, there's a question at the bottom. What is the underlying consensus mechanism? So, essentially, there's no consensus mechanism. There's no centralized, place that does which order goes next. Because the DEX is highly fragmented, bots are basically free to pick and choose, the next order they want to match and then submit them. And all these submissions can be done in parallel. They don't interfere with each other. And like Lars says as well, on top of having multiple bots, the bots could themselves batch multiple orders together in one transactions, depending on their strategy. So it's a really open concept, and it's mostly about aligning incentives. So the incentive of the bot is to make a profit. The incentive of the user is for orders to be matched quickly. And since UTXOs can only be spent once, if two bots find the same order they want to match and submit, only the bot that submits the transaction first on chain will be processed. So there's a bit of a competition also to be fast, to be efficient. So bots that build and submit transactions slower will actually be outcompeted by bots that can do that faster. But from the user perspective, it's just a benefit because that just means that orders are being executed faster, and they don't really care that multiple bots were fighting for the same order.
Right. Where can I find any educational resources for Genius Yield so I can understand and navigate? I think you can just go to our homepage, and there are links, for example, to the GitHub. I mean, we also have the Genius Academy, so there are like more general articles. And then, of course, if you're interested in actually running a bot, be it an SOR or a market maker bot, then I mean, they are very nicely written readmes, very detailed, almost like tutorials in the GitHub repos. And the link you can also find on the Genius Yield homepage.
Yeah, maybe one little things we didn't cover is the file is permissionless. It's not just great for DEX aggregators, it's also good for integration of any composability with any dApps. So any dApps, if you're a lending protocol or an NFT marketplace, you can directly under the hood interact with the DEX without even your users knowing, right? And so it allows you to do things like, buying an NFT, instead of buying it in ADA, you can buy it in another token and then in the background, swap it for something else. And especially since direct fills require only a single transaction. And that's a key difference from a lot of other DEXs where you would first send your sell token in the first transaction and then gets processed by the batcher. And then in the second transaction, you get your buy token back. But with direct fills, you can send and receive the swap within a single transaction. And that really opens up a lot of possibilities with composability, because now single transactions means you're not waiting on the batcher to execute your order. You can, in the background, batch that with another interaction of your contract or your dApp, and so we've been already contacted by projects and dApps that want to use Genius Yield in the background and compose other transactions with it, and so these type of architecture, we're just kind of scratching the surface of what can be done with this new paradigm.
Yes. Exactly, and also the smart contracts have been written in a way that they don't, that they are composable in a sense. You can interact with one of our orders or two in one transaction, and also with arbitrary other smart contracts in the same transaction. So we don't care what, they are basically self-contained. So what you said earlier, NFT marketplace could, for example, accept payment under the hood in a different token than ADA, and in one transaction could basically do the swap from that token to ADA and the sale of that NFT. So everything could happen in a single transaction atomically, because we have written our smart contracts in a way that allow that. So we can easily combine inputs coming or outputs coming from our smart contract with arbitrary other smart contracts. So yeah, that I think is really powerful. So it's a simple building block, a simple limit order, but I think you can do a lot with that. Let me see, there's any insight of what to expect in 2024. So I think it's a balance. So on the one hand, we're already getting like nice feedback from the community and things we can improve. So even though, as Marvin demonstrated, market orders are already working really well. There are some things one can improve there to maybe make it possible for them to fill several orders in one go. And so things like that, like making the UI even more intuitive or adding some things to the UI. But on the other hand, of course, we also want to do like interesting new features. I think the market maker bots have a lot of potential, so that we definitely want to pursue. But then there are other possible ways we can do, for example, options. I think that's also a fascinating topic. But yeah, we need to see. But it will definitely be also a process that involves the community, where we listen to feedback and try to, if there are like improvements that the community wants, then of course we will take that very seriously. So like gradual improvements to the overall user experience on the one hand, and then exciting features on the other. I think you answered that question already. That's still there.
Yeah, and I think we're getting close to the end. So maybe a last concluding thought, and then we can wrap it for today.
Yes, definitely. So I'm really excited and happy that we launched our DEX, and I think it's really something new, and so we are not trying to copy anything from Ethereum or anything existing on Cardano. I mean, we have this like new way to do things, order book, SORs, market maker bots, and so on. And I think it has a lot of potential. It's interesting building blocks that I think people can do really interesting, fascinating things with. So I'm very excited to see what the community will come up with, what use they will make of that. So thank you very much for your attention. And I urge everyone to try it out and give it a go.
Yes, same for me. And like anything new, it takes time to build, the right use cases and ecosystem around it. Like we can really build an entire new ecosystem, and it's with your help, the community, right? To contribute and see how you can use this new protocol and this new architecture for your own benefit. This is just kind of like the building blocks of a much bigger ecosystem that will grow in the future. Yeah, the ball is also in the hands of the community to come up with creative ways, to leverage this, and then we will make sure that we keep improving it and follow your feedback, and we'll go where the interest goes. But yeah, thank you for listening today. Feel free to try the DEX on our website, and yeah, if you have any questions, you can reach us on our Discord.